Hey there, YouTubies! Spaceball here, McCoy. Spaceball, don't you know that riding's dangerous?
I don't care, Mr. America. I'm gonna ride.
Riding's bad, because people die. People die when riding, McCoy.
Well, I don't care anyhow.
But Eric, don't you know that riding's dangerous, McCoy?
Mr. America, I don't care if riding's dangerous. I just want to go fast.
You shouldn't go fast, McCoy, because riding's dangerous. Riding's bad. Alright, hey YouTubies! Space spot here. I'm back at you. Vlogs are coming a little slower now, but I'm not stopping, as you know. I just got a new job. Yay, congrats, yay, January. I figured January would bring a lot of new opportunities, new fiscal year, etc. And of course it did. Lots of new opportunities, so I am working and glad to be working and loving the job. And yeah, that's good. Video games, of course. What else? Still making stickers, as always. Still vlogging, of course. Eventually I'll bring it back to once a week. Right now I'm just doing it as much as I can, after rest and recoup and all that stuff. And I am going to do another Short Riders vlog for 2015. Every year I'm going to do that. I'm going to update it. Basically it's an update and a recap. So the vlog today, basically I'm going to talk about my start in the video game business. If you're interested at all in video games, and many of you are, because probably most of you are male, and there's a lot of female gamers too. Well, there's some of you, especially in casual games. Either way, if you're interested at all in video games, you're going to want to hear this because it's pretty cool. And in general, you can apply this to your own life. It's all about opportunity, taking the opportunity, jumping in with both feet, and also when opportunity meets preparation, also known as luck, or I should say preparation meets opportunity. We are on the freeway, so hopefully you're getting good sound, and you should be, because I've done this enough. So anyway, it was, let's see, 1988, before some of you were born. Yes, I am elderly, 46. Well, I was in college before that, community college, Orange County, Saddleback College specifically, and I was in an art class. Now, I liked my art class, but I drew a lot, because, you know, if the teacher's going to talk, I might as well draw. And he was a really cool teacher, actually, Mr. Riley. He was a really cool dude, very easygoing. So, he saw me drawing a lot. I guess he recognized some talent there. Better well should, jeez. I'm like pretty much the best artist I know of. So, just kidding on the best artist. Lots of good artists out there, lots of people better than me. And Mr. Riley said, hey, why don't you go draw for the student newspaper? And now this was an opportunity moment. Now he didn't know if there was an artist on the newspaper. Maybe he did. I don't know. Maybe he knew there was a vacancy. And that day, I took myself and went down to the newspaper and said, hey, do you need an artist? Like, I can draw stuff. And not only did they need an artist, they welcomed me onto the staff, and gave me my first assignment that day, right then. You know, after some conversation, of course. And I was like, what the actual frack? So there I was that same day drawing editorial cartoons for a newspaper with about a 20,000 piece distribution. So I drew editorial cartoons, and I had a comic strip, a weekly comic strip, and started out kind of rough, and it got a lot better, and I started competing in the yearly journalism award conference. So I started competing in those and won like 7 awards and a couple second places, no first places. And that was pretty cool, and my comic strip was getting better and better, and my techniques were getting better, and my art got better. So on the staff, I met a writer named Leo Gilreath. And Leo, I apologize if I mangled your name, Leo Gilreath, I think it is. And he was a writer. He said he had met a kid in an arcade who was working on Nintendo games. And I'm like, yeah, right, probably some kid has big dreams, you know, working in his mom's basement, you know, the whole picture the worst, right? Picture he's 10 years old. Look, I wrote a code. And it's just like random shit. No, but Leo, smart guy. I guess he vetted him a little bit. This guy was really a coder. And I think he used the word kid, which threw me off. So anyway, I met with the guy. His name was Frank Wong. I met with him at Round Table Pizza, I'll never forget. It was across from Tilt, an arcade, fittingly enough. And this was Laguna Hills Mall. So Frank and I met with Leo. And Leo wanted to be the writer on the game, and that's fine. I mean, a game in those days didn't need a writer, but we were, I mean, he put us together, so we were definitely willing to do that. And Frank and I met. I had garlic bread and a Coke, and I'll never forget. Didn't have tons of money, but I just remember that order. And of course, Round Table Pizza is always a fun place, because at that time, all their menus had really cool art on them, and it inspired me like crazy. The art was so good, it was just right there on a menu. So Frank and I met, turned out to be legit. The company turned out to be legit. This was Color Dreams. And Color Dreams wanted to meet us, so we formed a team. And I was working at the time at a place called Sterling Art in Irvine. Now, my manager Steve, the owner Steve I should say, was a really cool cat. Really funny, fair, tough though. And I remember telling him about this opportunity once I realized it was legit and I met the company Color Dreams. They had promised us each $10,000 against royalty in a check once we completed our game on time. We only had like, I don't know, a month, 2 months, 3 months. It wasn't very long. We were very first time developers. So I told Steve, I'm like, look, I have this opportunity to make a Nintendo game. And he's so funny, he said, if you don't take it, I'm gonna fire you. Now he was joking, of course. Of course, I'm sure he meant it as well. And I'm like, don't worry, I'm gonna take it. I'm just letting you down easy. I am gonna take it. Don't worry. I'm not gonna keep my $6.50 an hour job at Sterling Art when I could go work on Nintendo games and make $10,000. Even if I fail, I still have the resume opportunity, I still have the resume entry. So that was that. We had an amicable parting, of course. Not that I'm worried about burning retail bridges, but you know, nice people, you want to do right by them. So this was another opportunity, right? Color Dreams. Frank and I set to work. I remember I was dirt poor. I had like 53 cents in the bank. My dad's new wife basically loaned me some money, and Frank's wife, Carol, is so cool. She loaned me some money as well. Of course, we worked furiously. We had, you know, lots of Cokes and homemade Chinese meals by Carol and Frank. And I remember the Peking duck. The duck was peeking at me. And just, you know, had some of the best Chinese food ever and really good game design sessions. Now, some of those sessions were heated because both of us are passionate people and we're headstrong. And I've always been that way. I know Frank's that way. And, you know, we're both reasonable people, but we were both battling for some ideas that we thought were important. And we did. You know, that's the thing about game design. It's a type of crucible. You have to battle for your idea. Sometimes your idea gets in, sometimes not. But the best idea wins, right? So the battle isn't about the people, it's about the idea. And it's okay if you have to do that battle. So anyway, Frank and I got our game done, and we thought it was great. Originally it was going to be called Drug Czar, CZAR, and this was inspired by some drug fighting game in an arcade. But Toys R Us, I heard, did not want us to use the name Drug Czar, or have the name drug in it, so we changed the game name to Ray 2020. And of course it's 2015 now, and here I am telling you about this 5 years out from 2020. How cool was that? So anyway, Frank and I, many late nights, finished our game. And I remember, okay, so when I went to deposit the check, I had 53 cents in the bank. That's what it was. And I'll never forget that contrast. And they put our money on hold for a little bit. But each of us had that 10 grand, and that was our entry into the video game world with Cover Dreams. Now, Cover Dreams had us do more after that. But that was our first game, Frank and I, and to this day on Ray 2020 boxes you can see Frank's name and my name on the back of the box. Now granted, this was not a 10 out of 10 at the game reviewer site. This is our first game. We did our best. You know, we just did what we could with it. And I thought it was pretty cool. Now there were a lot of changes that were forced on us that came after we turned in the game. See, the game was intended to be short and sweet, easily playable, easily winnable, kind of like the game Karateka by Jordan Metzner. Karateka was a very polished game, and Jordan Metzner is the guy who did Prince of Persia, which more of you will know. But Karateka was a very quick game. It was very, very tight, very well done, but you could solve it very quickly, and that's what we were going for. So later, Eddie Lynn and Tom Lynn, they were the owners of Cover Dreams, along with Dan Lawton, who reverse engineered the Nintendo technology. They would come in and be like, this is an Eddie imitation. Yeah, Dan, it's gotta make the main character riding a bee. Yeah, we gotta have him riding a bee. And a bee was a 1 pixel or a 1 character. So basically a character is 8 by 8 pixels on a grid. Now, I like Eddie and Tom. I'm just doing an imitation because I imitate everybody. I even imitated Dan Lawton, one of my favorite people. And of course, Tom Lynn would call me and say, oh, hi Dan, we need art for Baby Boomer. Yeah, call me back please at He had this rhythmic sing-song cadence for the numbers, and I remember the Cover Dreams number to this day because of that sing-song cadence. And yay, Tom, love you. You were a pleasure to work with, sir. Of course, I imitate everybody. And Dan was a crazy bastard. Dan is the lovable genius who reverse engineered the Nintendo legally, I might add, legally. Tengen did it and got sued, but Cover Dreams did not get sued successfully by Nintendo. So Cover Dreams was able to make a grip of money in a short time, but that also meant putting out games rather quickly by green developers such as myself and Frank and others. Frank was a programmer, but it was his first time making a game with Ray 2020. So after Ray 2020, Cover Dreams pinged me to work for them directly, making games like Robo Demons. Robo Demons, we worked at a Dan's house. We didn't have an office yet, not an official office. And we did that game in a month. I mean, literally I had to do design and art, and I may have even done some music, because I did all the music for Ray 2020, as well as the manual illustrations, and all the in-game art, and the box art. And Leo had writer credit, he wrote the manual for us. And of course Frank did all the programming. And it was fun doing the music, because I was already into music and making music. But I released later an album under the name of Nucleon with a K in 2003 under the label Cohagen, yes, from Total Recall. Now that I have a steady job, I'll probably get back into music a little bit. So anywho, I did Robo Demons. Dan and I busted that out in a month while he was caring for a rescue dog under the name of Skag. Skag was the name Dan gave him. Why he named him Skag, I don't know, but he let out the most noxious farts all day long. Poor Skag. And he was just shivering little chihuahua that Dan rescued. Skag would have probably died without Dan's help, just so you know. Now, Skag's farts were probably primarily due to chicken nuggets that Dan would feed him. And not the best dog food, but definitely not the best if you want clear air. And a non-fart late atmosphere. Holy shit, those farts were bad. I love you, Skag. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. I'm sure he's gone now. Because it's been a long time. So, Skag had, you know, a great little life before whatever happened after. And I remember, you know, Dan was a cool guy, and I won't talk about some of the stuff, because some of the stuff I gotta respect privacy. But Dan was great to work with. We had late nights and, you know, we talk about all kinds of stuff. And when I first started Color Dreams, as a quick aside, I was a Christian. And Dan is the one who got me thinking about my Christianity, or questioning it, in a very non-confrontational manner, I might add. But, you know, Dan was an atheist, and he got me thinking. And later on, and it was really about a month after we started talking about this stuff, I was an atheist too, and glad for it. Look at that sidecar rig. That's cool. So, Dan and I made Robot Humans, and then we got an office, or Color Dreams did, and this was probably around the times they contacted like Bunch Games and started thinking about Wisdom Tree Bible games. I remember the Bible game thing. That was mostly because at that time they knew the Christian bookstore thing was a big commodity, and there were still a lot of Christians around, and you know, you have a captive audience basically, and a lot of people who could potentially buy your Christian game. So they started branching into that a little bit later. Well, I actually started that too soon. First we did Challenge of the Dragon, and Dan basically said, hey Dan, you want to do your own game? You want to work with a state machine and make your own game? What do you want to do, Dan? Like, that's kind of how we talked. He's very excited, very excitable, but very smart, like talking to a super genius. So I'm like, well, I want to do kind of a cool kung fu fighting game, and you know, let's do something like Challenge of the Dragon or something. And I basically ran with it. I had a great concept, and Dan and I basically brainstormed it before we settled on it. And I used Dan's state machine system, which was basically like a plug-in system where you could plug in art and graphics and sound and get a game out of it. It was like a template basically. It was a good idea. So I did Challenge of the Dragon on the state machine system. Dan programmed it, and it was great, man. It was one of my favorite games because we had a little bit longer to spend on it. I wasn't so green. I had some experience. My art style was starting to flourish a bit, at least my art style for video games, and it was really great. So I did Challenge of the Dragon. I also worked at Crystal Mines and a couple other games, what was it, Pet Terminator. At that time, there was a girl there named Nina, and I remember I was pretty smitten with her. At first I didn't like her because I thought she had an attitude, and she probably did. I'm sure I did, because, you know, I was a young, successful dude, and, you know, when you're younger it's easier to have an attitude because, you know, you're taking on the world and winning. So Nina actually worked at a place called Dietrich's Coffee Shop over in Tustin, and I remember Dan would go into that coffee shop, and that's where he met her. Dietrich's is pretty huge now. They're like everywhere. They're doing like K-cups for coffee makers and stuff. So Nina and I would work side by side a lot together. Oh, look at this. It looks like they're taking pictures. It looks like they're taking pictures of that dam right there. That was probably weird for them, a space guy coming out of nowhere. At the road, but you're looking at the lake. So met Nina and we became boyfriend-girlfriend after many late nights of golden axe and flirting and sexual tension. She broke up with some boyfriend she had at the time and, you know, came to me crying about it, and that was convenient for me, I guess. And, you know, that was pretty amazing. Had our first kiss in a truck. And she was great. I was only with her a year, and it didn't end all that well, but I don't regret for a second being with her. She's a great person. She's also an artist, smart, pretty funny, impossible to hear if you're deaf. But yeah, go Nina. So Nina and I were together, and I was working on some things, and then they wanted to sort of transition into Wisdom Tree. And Wisdom Tree was making Bible games, as you know. Now, at the time, I was a Christian, so my reason for not wanting to work on Wisdom Tree games was because I didn't want to sully the good name of the Lord and my religion and make games and profit off them. And I'm thinking Jesus is going to come in and turn over the table. So I didn't want to make Bible games. At the time, I was a Christian. Now I'm an atheist. Only like about less than a month after that time, after that moment where I parted ways, I was an atheist. So that is really funny irony. And that was my time to cover dreams in a nutshell. Another funny aside is that when I was at home in Tustin, I answered an ad for a video game company, and it was called Silicon Synapse. This was actually early Blizzard. They were just a tiny little company with a small cube fridge. And I remember Alan Adham, the founder, offered me a job. It was only $10 an hour, and I had already moved out, and I kind of needed more than that. It was only a little bit more than I was making at Sterling Art when I went to go work on Nintendo games. So I had to grudgingly turn that down, but in hindsight, it would have been cool if I had taken that job because things might have been different. But instead, later on, I went to go work at Minecraft software after getting a referral from Robert Boniface, who I also met at Color Dreams. And his first game was King Neptune's Adventure with Nina. So Robert and I became sort of lifelong friends after that. And he got me into Minecraft after I took a test, passed the test, got in there, and we worked on a bunch of games independently by ourselves. Mercenary, Strike Squad, and I worked on a bunch of others. And apparently one game I worked on, Siege, was an inspiration for the early Warcraft. So that was pretty cool. One of the inspirations. So Robert and I went on to work at other companies together. THQ, we had our own company for a while, working on a proof of concept. And, you know, that was my start, and I've been doing it ever since. And basically the moral of the story is this: you get an opportunity, you take it, sir or madam. You take it. And if you prepare enough, when that opportunity comes along, you're going to be ready for it. So that's me, Dan Berg, talking about my start in the video game biz. If you like this, give it a like, subscribe if you're not already. And more vlogs are coming. Short Riders 2015. And that's probably all I'm going to talk about Color Dreams. And I've kind of covered a lot here. I may cover more aspects of the game industry later. And that's it, everybody. Thank you for watching and viewing, as always. Heading toward 20K subs. That's exciting. And until next time, Space Pod out.